Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the talk on common nutritional mistakes that affect the body and the mind. And I'll be going through a couple of foods today specifically that are big problems and cause us distress, sleep disturbances, skin irritation, gut irritation, and confusion, headaches, and so on. So I'm going to be going through the usual suspects, so bear with me. And then I will end off with what we should be eating. So I've got anybody who comes to see us at 365 Healthy by Choice, you get a client intake form, which has got a lot of information at the bottom. And some of the biggest culprits are wheat. Let's start with wheat. And I've done a couple of experiments with myself over the years. If I eat wheat, I will have a horrible dream. I will wake up in not a nice state in the night sometime, and I will have had not a nice dream. And it happens every single time. I hardly ever eat wheat, but if I do, because that's what was there when I was out or something, and I get reminded repeatedly. So wheat definitely does something to the brain and your sleep and your emotions. Many people eat gluten-free bread. I just want to say to you that there's 7 glutens, and when it's gluten-free, the other 6 are still there. So don't fool yourself. Don't buy gluten-free bread. Just don't buy bread. Rye, on the other hand, has got a fungus called ergot, and that can also make the mind go into a bit of a frenzy. So I wouldn't eat these grains regularly at all. The toxin grows on the rye grain when it's stored. Okay, and so that's not a good thing to happen either. Corn, of course, if you say, well, I'll have cornbread, polenta bread, no, because corn, when it's stored, develops a fungus called blastomycosis. Blastomycosis causes dementia and Alzheimer's. Every single time I see it on the quantum QUEXED that I work with, the Educta, the Skio, every single time when a person's eating corn, they're going to get blastomycosis, which is going to affect the brain functioning. So that's a terrible thing for the brain too. Another terrible thing for the brain is aspartame, or sugar sweetness, because it's an amino acid that lives in the brain and eats it away forever. And you won't know what's caused it, why it was, until somebody picks up, like on the quantum devices, that there's been sugar sweetness used. So that's very dangerous. And that protein causes the sensation of sugar, but it's not actually sugar. So it's a terrible, terrible thing, that aspartame. And it really does poison and toxify the brain. So not a good thing at all. And sometimes you get a black fungus, a black mold also that grows in the brain, and we have to be careful that we're not eating 3-day-old food. If we eat 3 days old food, we're going to first of all look like 3 days old food, which has got virtually no life force, no energy. It's dead. It's gray or light brown or whatever in color. So make sure that your food is fresh from the day. Prepare it that day. Prepare enough for what you want to eat. Yes, you can freeze if there's extra, and it would be better to freeze it quickly if you were going to, because you will save that food a bit. But honestly, the best is to cook for what you need, wash the dishes, and you're done. That's really the best. Other things that are bad for the body are anything white, in terms of white potato, very high glycemic index. That means it's going to spike the blood sugar. Worse than fruit. So a white rice, a white potato will spike the blood sugar more than fruit will. And just don't speak about white mealie meal, white pap, white corn, because I have spoken about it already. It's also going to spike the blood sugar. So we don't want to eat those. What we would rather eat there would be a buckwheat, a millet, a quinoa, a sorghum. Lovely, what they call pseudo cereals. And they're basically seeds. So it would be good to soak them if you wanted to, and then cook them quickly. Some people soak the seeds overnight and use them in their raw oats or in their sorghum in the morning as already sort of pre-digested. And you can add some of the microbiome reset into the sorghum with a little bit of buckwheat or millet or some of your nuts, and then soak that overnight. It's already pre-digested. You can add some honey, wait for about 5 or 10 minutes. It goes really thin because the honey is full of enzymes too. And that will also pre-digest the sorghum and the buckwheat or whatever you mixed grain, whatever you're using. So those are good tips, very, very good tips. You can also soak overnight in a kefir or a yogurt, and that will also speed up pre-digestion and dissolve the sugars and dissolve the potential gluten and dissolve the things that the body can't digest and doesn't want. There's two differences between a food intolerance and a food allergy. Food allergies are linked to emotions. So, for example, you, a little boy, you've been riding your bike with your friends, you come in, you eat a hamburger and a lime milkshake, for example, you go back on your bike and you hit a big rock and you go flying and you really hurt yourself. When you have another lime milkshake or another hamburger, your body subconsciously relives that experience that you experienced because it remembers what was in your food before that experience happened. And that's that. And that is an allergy. Food allergies are emotional. Food intolerances are due to toxicity. So it would be things like pesticides, MSG, for example. Read on the label. Lots of E's, lots of preservatives. That would be an intolerance. You wouldn't really have an allergy to that because that is a pure toxin. So I hope that's cleared up. But really, really do read your labels because what you can't pronounce is not good for you. And also, according to the labeling rules, if the toxin or the ingredient is less than a certain amount, you don't have to list it. So imagine how many other toxins there are in our food that they don't have to list. And that MSG is a big culprit. You'll find it a lot in barbecue flavored crisps or rice cakes or something like that. And that, again, it's that protein that eats away the brain for the rest of your life. So MSG is terrible. But it's got that addictive nature. So you finish the whole packet of chips, for example. And so we've done, what about fried foods? My pet area. Any fried oil goes into the free radical form, which is cancer forming. So it's literally a killer. Any heated oil is a killer. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you've read. If the oil is heated, it forms a free radical. And that oil lies in pools in the blood. And inside those pools, the parasites come. So when we put people on the live blood under the microscope here, we see big pools of blood with parasites all over and toxins in the oil, free radicals and things. So that slows the blood down, and that means that the oxygen to the organs is down as well. And that we don't want. We want 100% oxygen to the heart, the brain, the kidneys, the organs, the systems. And thick, oily blood won't do that. Blood that's got parasites in it won't do that either. Blood that's got lots of toxicity, environmental toxicity, won't move fast either. So the whole idea in the game of nutrition is to get oxygen through the lungs to the cells and food through the gut to the cells, into the blood and to the cells. So that's what we're aiming for. We have to do that as efficiently as possible and not bring in toxins. So heated oil is an absolute no-no. I would rather we do water, stir fry and steam. And when the food is cool, you'll take your teaspoon of flaxseed oil and put it on. If it comes to meat, it's best to grill it or braai it and get all the oil off. And you can even take a cotton towel and dab all the oil off. That oil we do not need. It's going to lie around in the blood and make us fat and slow the blood down. Other processed foods, pre-cooked meals, remember, they've got a sell-by date, but they've been lying around and they're going to attract parasites for sure. Absolutely for sure. So pre-prepared food, as I said earlier, it's going to be a couple of days old. That's not an option. If you think how quick it is to make one of our stress defense or brain fuel or extreme performance boost cacao smoothies, it's not even 2 minutes because you You spoon your tablespoon of the stress defense or the brain fuel or the extreme performance boost into your blender. You put in your berries, which you've just quickly soaked in the cell oxygen drops. You put your almonds in, and we advocate that you soak your almonds overnight. The big nuts you must soak overnight. You throw those in, you put in some leftover green tea or water, a little bit of honey if you want, a little bit of flaxseed oil or a little bit of coconut oil, and you blend that up. And it takes 2 seconds, and you've got basically a fast food that's going to keep you awake for a long time and focusing. So that's far better than anything else, because it's just loaded. There's over 30 nutrients in there. It's just loaded with goodness and minerals and vitamins and proteins, long chain sugars, which was what the body needs. So that's a winner as far as I'm concerned, to help get yourself off the processed foods. And you can have that any time of the day, by the way. The other one I like is the Budwick mix, where you take a tub of no-fat, chunky cottage cheese and you blend it with half a tub of flaxseed oil, cold pressed, the one from us. And because the flaxseed oil from 365 Healthy by Choice is pressed and bottled in 1 month and sent to us in a cardboard box. It doesn't lie around anywhere. So it's very, very vital. Like our castor oil. It's organic, raw, hexane-free. It's golden. Very vital, very active, just to say. So, you would want to definitely consume those kind of oils, the flaxseed oil for sure. And that's doing a whole lot of things for the body anyway, including helping you remove the neutral fat that's circulating in your blood. It does that because it's enzyme rich. So the minute you consume heated oil, all right, the body's energy has to come in to digest it. But flaxseed oil has still got the enzymes. It's cold pressed. Any heated oil has lost the enzymes. That's a fact. So that means that oil can't break down. It's going to hang around. I've seen too many cases on the live blood that after 2 weeks, even the pools of oil are reduced in the blood substantially, 66% easily. And by the end of the month, there's no oil left. So it's quite easy to get rid of the oil. And remember, that oil is also clogging the liver. It's making the liver very fatty. So those are no-nos. Getting back to this whole big thing, any processed food is definitely, they've used heated oil because it's cheap. Any takeaway, they've used sunflower oil, canola oil because it's cheap. And it's just literally cancer in a bottle. It's going to line your blood. So those are useful things to know. Other things that where the food could be toxic, if you eat after 7 at night, when the sun has gone down, if you eat, that food will be toxic to your body. We've got chickens here, and they scratch around all day, feet on the ground, connected to the earth. Their circadian rhythm is in sync. And when it comes to 5:30, 5:45, 6, they're on the perch. They don't come down. And I can walk in there with food, and I've tested them. They won't come down and eat it. They just absolutely won't. So they know that it's going to be toxic for their body. So we want to eat before sunset. We don't want to drink huge amounts when we eat, because imagine all the food's going to float. It's going to dilute the enzymes and dilutes the hormones for digestion. And then we're going to end up with undigested food, which ends up in worms and leaky gut and holes in the intestine. And that can then lead to onto stomach disorders and diseases. So definitely not. Let's not consume liquid when we eat. Even if you're taking a liquid probiotic, just take a capful with another capful of water, that's all. And then you consume it, because that's all you need, actually. And the body's a computer. It's a precision. You see the food, you touch the food, if you do, and then you consume it and you eat it slowly. And the body's sensing the whole time almost how much enzyme needs to be, lipase enzyme, protease enzyme, how much needs to be secreted by the pancreas. The brain is telling it what to do to digest that food, and we go and mess it up. The worst ever would be a cold drink with ice, because that just freezes the gut. A gut needs to be hot and ready to digest all the time. And if we go and make it cool, again, we arrest the digestion. Doesn't happen properly. We don't get proper absorption of food. We get all the big pieces lying in the gut. So that's a big problem. Cold drinks, even drinks, and volumes of water when you eat. You can't do that. Rather have 2 hours after you've eaten. So half an hour before and 2 hours after you've eaten is when you want to consume liquid. So that's useful to know. I like to use the blood group foods because they're less inflammatory if you avoid them, and it works every time with my clients. So we do advocate the blood group, the O, the A, the B, and the AB. And also to be calm when you eat. You could light a candle, you could say a short prayer, sing a song. Calm everything down. If it's a family meal, calm it all down. Don't talk about the troubles of the day or stresses and things. Rather talk about good, happy things, contentment when we're eating. And a doctor once taught me as well, if you give generously, you will also heal the gut. So there's something to do with generosity also, in addition to gratitude and contentment. And you definitely need your friends, the probiotics. We have the microbiome reset for digestion, because they will digest the protein into amino acids, which get absorbed. We don't absorb protein, we absorb amino acids. So we have to have the microbes. So a good tip for eating is to always have some sort of cultured food on the table. So either the probiotic, the microbiome reset, a little bit of kombucha, which tastes like enhanced vinegar. In other words, there's no sugar left. Some cottage cheese, kefir, kimchi, idli, miso, they all contain natural organisms. And our ancestors ate that every time they ate their food, because they knew that was how they were going to digest their food. So get those on the table, please. Never eat in a rush in front of the TV, in the car, because wow, you're not going to be able to digest that food properly. If you're stressed, it's also a good idea to wait, because again, the food won't digest. Digestion will be arrested. And then you've got these big lumps of food that cause fermentation and toxins. So that's also very useful to know. You must avoid pesticides and insecticides. We wash our food in the cell vitality oxygen drops for about 2 to 3 minutes, and that will remove hormones, bacteria, funguses, viruses, anything lurking around in the fruit or the vegetable will be removed by the cell oxygen. So we love that. We use that, and we watch the pesticide level come down. That's for sure. And other things to think about, if you really, really are struggling with digestion, you might want to separate a complex protein with a complex carbohydrate. You might want to eat those as separate meals. I have seen it work. You don't have to do that long term, but in the beginning, just to get the energy up in the body, very important. And I think also to have a nice ratio between raw food, slightly steamed veggies, and cooked food. But there's no doubt the higher the plant food content of your diet, the healthier you're going to be. It is alkaline in any event. And you have to have that good, at least 60% raw food, I would say. And it gets back to the on-the-go smoothie, because you're getting 30 nutrients and you've made it. It's all fresh. It's all cleaned within 2 minutes. And you sip it slowly, and it lasts you a good couple of hours. So those are the foods you want to look at, the high-quality foods. It's not how much, the quantity that you have, but it's the quality of the food. That's very, very important, because that will have a higher mineral content. An organic food will naturally have a higher mineral and vitamin content. So the stress defense shield that we have is very high in protein, all essential amino acids. There's blue-green algae, chlorella, spirulina. There's 6 medicinal mushrooms. So it's a maca powder. It's loaded with plant-based proteins, readily available in the amino acid form. No digestion, even absorbs through the mucosa of the mouth. So that's in there. Plus it's stress adaptogens. There's about 7 of them. Herbs for the liver. There's kelp, very good food as well. And as I said, 30 of these nutrients. So rest assured you're going to get what you need from there. So that's why I enjoy the stress defense shield or the brain fuel. The brain fuel's got a little bit more herbs that oxygenate the brain. So that's good. And the other things I wanted to say, we as humans have lost our intuition, our gut feel when it comes to food. If you take a baby into a greengrocer store, a baby that can use their hands a bit, and you take them near the foods, the one that they touch is the one that they instinctively know. Was it the apple or was it the banana? When they absolutely know they want, that's why they touched it. The color, the sensory aspect of the fruit attracted them. So we need to rekindle that intuitive way of eating. And I just defy anyone to write a diet plan for anyone, because first of all, the compliance, if it was for me, I'm not going to stick to it, because I'm going to wake up and see what I want to eat, feel what I want to eat, and not have to follow a diet plan that says you have an egg 3 times a week and you have it on this days and you have this and you have that. I don't work like that. I don't think that's instinctive, and nobody's in my shoes and knows what my soul needs, because food is a soul thing. So I would rather give a blood group and say, make a plan that you think you can follow that is going to work for you. You know, you've got your options every day. So it might be yogurt the one morning, it might be an egg the next morning, it might be sorghum the next morning, but you can choose what you feel like that day. I think that's a much better approach to food. And, if you follow the basic rules that I've given you, hydrate in between meals, obviously that's very important. And remember that oxygen is a primary nutrient. So if you're doing 20 minutes of, let's say, alternative nostril breathing with your feet on the ground, you're going to not only get the electrons from the ground, but you're going to also get air into your body, oxygen. And that's why our cell oxygen is such a vital product, because it's bringing that oxygen into the body. I'm just going to get out of the glare there a little bit. And so breathing is critical. Water is critical because it's got to carry the nutrients and remove the wastes. Sunshine is important because the photons are the highest frequency food of everything. And that photon light, when it reaches the body, the blood in the veins, the cells, it knows exactly what to do, what to heal. So that's important nutrient. Otherwise, I love the medicinal mushrooms. I love the blue-green algae, spirulina, chlorella. I love the bee pollen, propolis, royal jelly. We have all of it. And I would say sprouts, if you can do sprouting, superior form of amino acids, readily available. And then I would say also organic fruit and nuts, if you can get that. Remember, if a nut is shelled and it lies on a shelf, it's going rancid. So that's a problem with nuts. And we do see oil in people's blood who eat a lot of nuts. So you have to really get them fresh. But a good source of plant protein as well. And then also in the medicinal mushrooms and the algae and the pollen, you get a long chain sugar, and that's what the brain needs. It doesn't need the short chain cane sugars. So they're not sweet. The long chain sugars are not sweet. Those are the ones we need for the brain and the rest of the body. And it's made by photosynthesis, encapsulated sunlight. So in the stress defense shield, for example, you would have over and above the magnesium and the vitamin C and antioxidants in the cacao, you will have all the essential amino acids, long-chain sugars, vitamins, minerals, and phytosterols. full also with, as I said, across the spectrum of color. So those are good things to do. And then some people like to do intermittent fasting, and I think that is a good idea. So you would eat before sunset. It's really easy. And then around 8, 9, or 10 the next day, you will break your fast. So intermittent fasting, many people do it, but they're not really conscious of it. So that's good. I think when it comes to dairy, remember that almost all milk is pasteurized, which means the proteins are denatured and so is the oil. The oil is a free radical. So when it comes to dairy, get raw milk, make your own kefir with the kefir grains. And, to also be having skimmed milk. It's not a whole food then anymore. So that also distorts the nature of the food and how the body reacts to it. I would rather have a little bit of a natural product than, lots of low-fat skimmed milk kind of products. So that's important. And then the oils I talked about, the proteins, the oils, that's the main thing. If you've got a tendency for calcification, then you should watch the spinach because it's very high in oxalic acid, which will also create stones and crystals in the kidney and possibly the bladder too. So be careful of that. And be careful of parasites because they're not like bacteria where you get a temperature, a fungus, then they're not the same. They're latent, they lie there. And when the immunity's down, they'll flare up. And they'll go away again, and then they'll flare up again. So some people would say like a tick bite fever, Lyme's never really leaves you, and that's true. Unless we come and detoxify it with a lot of oxygen, Ormus Gold, DMSO, those products. So always check for parasites. Our machines do it. The Quantum QUEXED does do that. It gives us a whole array of parasites. And it's such a long list, I don't even read it out to people except to tell them that they've got some pathogens, they've got some prions, and they need to come out, and we blast it out with oxygen. So I think most of the food aspects people know today. I talked earlier today on detoxification, parasites, and the emotional toxins as well, because food will carry an emotion. Toxic food will carry an emotion. Parasites will carry an emotion. So it's chicken and egg, which came first. Because sometimes also if through hereditary, we're anxious, we can attract certain parasites to come and live with us as well. So we want to have a clean slate. We want to clean the body, purify, reset it, then restore it, then rejuvenate, and then rejoice. And if for some people it's a month, for some people it's 3 or 4 months, depending on how long they've had infections, or, if it's systemic, it's been there a long time. If it's inherited, it's been there a long time. So, there will be 3 to 4 months for sure. And if you stop too soon, it just comes straight back. So we have to monitor and measure it, which is what we do. We use the live blood for that and the quantum machines, QUEXED, Eductus, and also our Q450 to a less extent. But we can see if they're there in any event. So, yes, it's about being on top of it all. The other one which is a toxin, is radiation and electromagnetic frequencies. They're also going to distort the harmony of the body. So, buy a new home wisely, rent a new home wisely, know where the cell phone masts are, and switch your phone off at night. It's just it's not a nutrient at all, EMF or radiation. It's the opposite. So then have fun and eat when you're joyful. That's the best. If you're stressed, rather wait for the stress to go a bit. So I hope I've given you some good information insofar as the 365 products are concerned. The Activa stem cells has got the top 5 adult stem cell activating plants, which is royal jelly, cordyceps, lion's mane, foti, and blue-green algae. And those 5 will activate adult stem cells. They've got all the proteins in them to do that. They are in the stress defense shield, the brain fuel, and the extreme performance boost. Medicinal mushrooms, we've got 6 altogether: reishi, shiitake, lion's mane, cordyceps, maitake, coriolis, got all of those. And then we've got the bee pollen, the propolis, the royal jelly, proteins. So there's more than enough proteins, long-chain sugars, vitamins, minerals, and phytosterols to eat in the 365 Healthy by Choice range of foods. And, I will take almost gold. It's also a nutrient, which is gold, silver, copper, nickel. So metals are nutrients. I will take flaxseed oil, which is a nutrient. Oxygen, the DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, also a nutrient. Lots of oxygen and sulfur in it, though. And keep myself ahead of the pack by doing that. So I wish you all opportunities to keep yourselves ahead of the pack. And message me if you've got any questions. If you want to make a booking, go to www.365healthybychoice.com, go to center bookings, and you will find what you're looking for, either at Bryanston Center or virtual. And if you go to the shop, you'll find an array of products which have been developed specifically for needs to close risk factor gaps. Thank you so much.